If you're new here, let me introduce myself. I'm Jeff Cohen. I own and operate Insightful Web Builders. You have better things to do than worry about your website and online marketing, but I don't. Also, Insightful does not start with an I because you come first. All right. What I'm doing today is I want to show you how I use Trello to manage my blogging. If you're a client of mine, we talk about Trello all the time. We use Trello together all the time, and I'm always talking about the importance of blogging, getting content out there. Um, I'm not necessarily walking the talk all the time, but I use Trello to help me manage what it is I want to blog about. Used to be I'd write it on pieces of paper, create empty placeholder Word documents with the title of the blogs. Now I just go right into Trello and do it. This is a tour of my Trello board. It's not how to use Trello. I'm going to assume that you either know or will soon find out all about how to use Trello. The Trello is made up of boards. Each board can have multiple lists, and each list can have multiple cards. So I assume you know what the structure, the anatomy of Trello is. This is a tour of my Trello board, and this tour is warts and all. I have spent a little time in the last couple of days trying to clean up this board, but I stopped because I thought it would be helpful to show you how not so great this Trello board is and how you can change it. Trello is very malleable. So, without further ado, let me go in and show you what I've got. All right, I'm going to scroll around. You see a lot of cards, a lot of lists, a lot of cards. Look at these, JJJJ. What are those? Well, those were topics that I had written cards for, and then I changed my mind. I didn't want them anymore. So instead of deleting them, which is a two-step process in Trello, archive, delete, delete. That's a three-step process. I just renamed them J, and I figured I'll use them later. So if you take a look at what I've got BCE, broadcast email mailings, specifics. These are specific topics that I know about. Snippets and techniques. I'm a programmer, so I would have that. J, that's nothing. Plug-in reviews and first looks. Trello related. Yeah. General ideas, portfolio, case studies, and then the dones. All right. Now look, here's Trello, Trello, Trello. But if we go over here, we see there's a list named Trello related. So that doesn't make sense. Again, I didn't do a great job of organizing this. Another thing I notice is the absence of a list at the beginning called catch-all. I usually like to have a catch-all list, like a catch-all drawer, and I like to move it over here. Why? Because this allows me to just add things in without having to take the time to think what list it should belong to. And I could always move something later. And so here's an example. I'm going to add a card under the catch-all. Trello boards. Now, not one way. Okay. Notice I try to keep my card titles short. Now, if I wanted to organize things, I might take this and move this over to, let's move over here. Trello related. I'll just drop it in there. Sometimes I'll move a list over to the left if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of transferring of cards from one to another. You might be wondering, why do I have a list named J? The same reason I have cards with a label of J. I had a list that I didn't need anymore. Instead of going through the trouble of deleting it, I would just rename it knowing I'd probably need to use it again sometime. I've already pointed out that I have some cards with the label Trello on them, as well as a list called Trello related. And honestly, I haven't yet decided how I want to deal with that. But let's talk a minute about labels, because they are one of the most useful features of Trello, in my opinion, and that's because you can filter with them. So let me show you the labels I have set up. More labels. This is pretty typical. I like to start with high, medium, low, and then in progress, the first 4 labels. Labels are not mutually exclusive. It's kind of strange. What I mean is that some labels in practice might be mutually exclusive. For instance, I wouldn't want to label a card high and medium or high and low, but I might and have labeled it high and in progress. Done is a status, like in progress, so one card wouldn't have both in progress and done as labels. But there's nothing in Trello's system that would prevent you from doing that. You might be wondering, why is done in the 6th slot? Good question. And silly answer, but it's the truth. You can add labels to cards with your numeric keyboard on the desktop version just by typing the number. I have come to assign the 6 on the numeric keyboard with the status done. I'll show you in a minute how I do that. So now there's still the question of Trello. Do I want Trello to be a label, or should it just be its own list? And that's the kind of thing you're going to encounter, I think, yourselves. Now, screencast, WP, those are attributes. WP stands for WordPress. Again, Trello is also an attribute. I used these labels, I started using these labels thinking that I could use them for filtering. And now let me show you how filtering works. The most common way I filter is by status. You may know that you can press the F key. I thought you could press the F key. Okay, you can. And then I will click on high. And I'll close this. Now I'm just seeing my high priorities. Blogboard, how I use it, Trello, tips, shortcuts. I'm going to release that filter. Another way I might want to filter is by what's in progress. So I'm going to show all labels, select labels, and all I want to see is the in progress. The advantage here is that if something's in progress, I can pick up and work on that now. Now you might think that I could do a filter for, I want to see the in progress cards that are medium priority. And you might be inclined to think that you can do that by doing this. Let's see, medium and medium and in progress. So I'm going to click that. And now, see what happens. Yeah, the problem is that, or the issue is that labels, when filtering, are not restrictive. They don't present an and condition. They present an or condition. So that particular filter doesn't work so much. Now, as I look at this board, I realize I don't need to assign the Trello label to cards. I don't even need to have the Trello label. So I'm just going to go ahead and move these here. I don't care where I put them. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I want to see, do I have any other cards with a label of Trello that aren't in the Trello related? So I'm going to filter, and I'm going to select labels, and I'm going to do Trello, and I'm going to close that, and it says there are 4, 1, 2, 3. They're all here. Okay, so I'm going to clear that filter. I'm going to get rid of the Trello label. And I think the Trello label is 4. So if I hit 4, no, that's in progress. I'm absolutely, no, 5. Okay, by just tapping the number, and you can't see me doing this, but I'm just hovering over, and I'm getting rid of that. Trello. Okay, so there should be no more Trellos. Now let me show you how I typically review the cards in a list. What I do is I just click on it and open it up, and I read through what's there. Using the right and left arrow keys, I can navigate from one card to the next. So I'm going to hit the right arrow. Best way to review cards in a board, start with the newest first. Yeah. Right arrow. Blogboard, how I use it. Oh, that's interesting. Show details. Okay, I added it yesterday, right. And, okay, how I use it. I'm going to say that this is in progress. No, that's the wrong one. I want to say this is in progress. Yeah, okay. And what I did is I just tapped the number 4 key on the keypad to give it that status. Okay, next, create a Trello card from any web page. Blah, blah, blah. And maybe I look at this and I may say, this is kind of a low priority, so I'm going to do this. I just tap the 3 key on the keypad. Next, filter by label and member. I give that a medium. Again, you see what I do. I'm just hitting right arrow, and I've tagged this one as a screencast. Link to a card or board in a card. You see, now I don't have much of a description here, so when I'm looking at this, I know what that means, but I should have written a description. And then mentioning members, medium. I'm going to change that to high. And I just hit the 2 and the 1 key like that, and I changed that to high. It's really a sure way to make sure that other members of a board know that there's something they should look at. Okay, and so a new card, I just added that. Now I'm going to just X out of there. As I look at this list, snippets and techniques, I see that there are a few cards related to PHP. Let me use that label that I cleared up, that purple one. I'm going to call this PHP. Save. And that's in 1, 2, 3, 4. That's in the 5th position. Why do I want to know that? Because now when I hover over here, I'm just going to tap the 5 key. That's also PHP. Okay, this is also PHP. That's PHP. Let me scroll down here. That's PHP. That's PHP. While I'm in this mode, why don't I label the ones that are WordPress? Now those are a 0, but I have 2 labels assigned to 0, so I'm going to have to choose. I'm going to hit 0, and I'm going to do WordPress. This is WordPress. You get the idea. You might be wondering, why do I think it's helpful to label these cards with the topic that they relate to? And that's the reason is that we all have multiple audiences, and when I write blog posts and send out broadcast emails, I try to be aware of the fact that some people on my mailing list are going to be interested in some topics but not in others. So I try to vary things. So I might want to have a PHP blog post one week, a WordPress another week, a Trello post another week, just a general post about life another week. And that way when I send out my broadcast emails, maybe one of those topics will be of interest to most of the people. Now, if I'm thinking that it would be a good time for me to do a blog post about PHP, because I haven't done one in a while, an easy way to see where all those are is to do filter, select labels, PHP, 6 of them show up, and they're all right there in one place, so I can do what I was doing before. Read the comments, right arrow to the next, right arrow to the next, right arrow to the next, right, etc. Okay, so as you look at this list, let me do this again and open this up and navigate through. I have no description here. Right arrow. No description. A little bit of a description, a little bit. Now, it really would have been better if I had gone back into these cards, especially ones that I think are high or medium priority, and write some text in the description that would essentially help me create that blog post, be an outline for the blog post. But I didn't in many cases here. In fact, if I look at this particular card, which is the one associated with this tour, I have a little bit of a description. This is a particularly good one, blah, 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 but it really isn't that helpful. This presentation might have been a lot more effective and less disjointed, and I apologize for it being disjointed, if I had had a pretty good outline here that I could have gone by. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and edit this description and paste in something that I just wrote in another window. And now hit save. And here are the topics. How to name lists, how to name cards, moving cards from one. I've covered all these things, but I should have had it there before. TreeView Power-Up. What's that? Let me show you. As you may know, Power-Ups are little apps you can add to your Trello boards. I'm going to click on TreeView, and this displays all the lists in this board in the order that they appear. The number in the box to the left of the name of the list indicates how many cards are in that list. I can expand a list by clicking that arrow, and then I can navigate to a card just by clicking on it, like that. I can then close that, go back into TreeView, and another thing you can do is you can move the lists around easily. You can move that to, well, I like catch-all up here. I might want specifics over here, and so on. So I think that's enough for now. My blog and broadcast email Trello board, warts and all. I hope this helps, even if it serves only as a bad example. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. And if you're interested in more Trello-related tutorials or videos, I'd love to hear that. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye-bye.